Motion carries. All right, special presentation.
Mr. Landy, thank you so much for coming this evening.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So on behalf of the Sayre Area School Board of Directors, administration, faculty, staff, and students, I extend our heartfelt gratitude to you and your father for the unwavering service and dedication over the past 65 years. The Landy family has served our school district as school solicitor since 1959. You and your father's commitment and expertise have been invaluable to our institution. Throughout my time here at Sayre, you've demonstrated professionalism, integrity, and a deep understanding of the educational landscape. Your guidance has helped us to navigate the ever-changing and challenging landscape within education. In addition to your service, you have given back to our school community in many ways, and we thank you for your support. You and your father have made a lasting difference, and the Landy family legacy at the Sayre Area School District will last for years. I do have a small token of appreciation for you.
Yeah, just real quickly, because I know
Well,
you've got.
I'm gonna give you the microphone in a minute. That was just the middle. I have to keep going. Yes.
Okay.
I got the microphone. I'm gonna keep going. Yes. Additionally, the Sayre Area School District will have a scholarship in honor of the Landy family beginning next year for one of our graduating seniors. Today, Chris Lance, our new school solicitor effective July 1st, sent a message saying it's an honor and privilege to represent Sayre Area School District. For any of you that don't know, Chris is alumni to Sayre. I look forward to assisting the administration and school board in my capacity as solicitor. I'm committed to helping the district maintain the quality representation like Attorney Landy and his father before him. So again, Mr. Landy, thank you. Thank you to you and your father for serving our school district for 65 years. Thank you.
If I may.
You may.
You know, it's hard to believe that this time has passed. It seems like it was just last week that I came back to Sayre. And Connie was, I think you were here then. You know, working for the school has been more of a pleasure than anything else. And my dad would say the same, probably more so. He really enjoyed working with the school and with all of the people that were working in the school. He used to call Bill Hickey his assistant solicitor. And he and Bill were great friends, and I was just happy to be able to follow in their footsteps. You have a great bunch of people here in Sayre. I think you'll be fine with Chris. I think I recommended that you contact him. And he'll do a good job for you, I'm sure. Thanks so much for this evening. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Our pleasure. So really, that's just a small token of our
No,
appreciation.
thank you.
You know, the scholarship, but I,
appreciate it.
you know, personally, having been here for 5 years, you really have been the go-to for me. I appreciate you taking my calls. COVID was a stressful time in my first year, and knowing that I had someone with years of experience in the legal landscape helped to reassure me and allowed me to get a couple hours of sleep every night.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. I'll be in touch with Barry to talk about the scholarship a little more.
Okay, that sounds great.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Folks. Yeah. Okay. I don't have to stay for the meeting.
That was part of his request.
So Mr. Claypool went through the board docs that we have back to the, early 1900s and was working through the 50s. He knew it was in the 50s, and we found the date of 1959. And so we wanted to make sure that we acknowledge that. So today, or this year of 24, would be 65 years of service by those two gentlemen.
Just incredible.
Just incredible, so, absolutely. But I think that's a great idea to have a picture placed in the archives of both his father and of Mr. Joe Landy, and in the years of their service. Okay, thanks for that idea. I will ask the board, if you are speaking, to pull your microphone a little bit close. I have heard that it's hard to hear online if it's not at the microphone, so, just pull it close to you so that we can make sure those that are watching out via online, I'll say via online, can hear us as well. Oh, you want me to continue?
Might as well continue, no?
So the original letter C says that I'm going to do a response to questions from a community member that I had received. And the questions I received, typically I will respond via email, but it had noted in here that people were wanting to know some of these questions, so I had shared that I would respond at the public meeting. I responded to the email that I would be responding to public. So just to share some of the questions that are in the email I received, I was asked, who's in charge of the district when the superintendent is not here, not in the district? Most assume it's Mr. Claypool. However, if he doesn't know that Dr. Delosio isn't in and isn't going to be in, how does he plan for his day? What if he calls in sick and unbeknownst to him, the superintendent is out? Who does the superintendent notify of her time away from the district, such as conferences, 6 days, personal days, etc.? With no checks and balances, the Sayre Area School District could be left hanging. So I wanted to share with everyone how that happens. So, who's in charge of the district when the superintendent is not on property? And the answer is, I am. I am always available to the team, the entire staff. Every employee has access to my cell phone number, as it's the only number to get me. I don't have a landline. And it is available in the district directory, which is on the Google Drive, that is accessible to all employees, support staff, professional staff, and administration team, as well as the board has my number as well. Additionally, we have a leadership team that I trust, and I know that they are exceptional at what they do. And typically when something happens at the elementary school, Mrs. Morell is the contact. And if needed, she reaches out to me. And if something happens here at the high school, Mrs. Ely and Mr. Howie are running the show, and if they need me, they contact me. So for a conference day, to be specific about all these pieces, who does the superintendent notify when I'm away for a conference day? So just to share the process, I complete the same process that every employee going to a conference completes. I complete a conference request form that compiles the registration, fee, lodging, if needed, meals, mileage, parking fees, turnpike fees, etc., if needed. That form goes from my office to the business office, to Mr. Claypool and his team. They then go, they approve it, or he comes back to me with questions. The approval is probably based on the fact of whatever's been allotted by the board at the, for financial. If it fits within there, if it's over the amount that's left, then it would be denied. If it's approved, it then goes and it gets placed on the board agenda along with the other conferences, and the board, the 9 of you, would then approve it. So periodically, once in a great while, a request does come to the board that's retroactive, depending on when it comes to me and if I find value in attending it for the Sayre Area School District. So the conference days are then put on my calendar, which is a Google Calendar that I share with my secretary, Dr. Tejan's secretary, Shannon Moore, and Barry Claypool's secretary, Christy Zimmer. They all have access to my email and can see when I'm at a conference and exactly where I am. For my vacation days, my personal days, and planned sick days for a doctor's appointment, which I try not to do on school days with students, I do use the same system by the administrative team and the secretarial team. It's called CSIU. The request is submitted, and Mr. Claypool is my approver. So I never take a day off without him doing the approval first. I then place the approved day on my calendar so that my secretary is notified as well. We all know that there are those unplanned sick days. And yes, I have woken up in the morning and not felt well or had a migraine and needed to maybe take a half a day. So at that point in time, I text Mr. Claypool, and he then knows of whether I'm going to be in or not in. And then when I am well, usually later that morning or sometime during the day, that day goes into CSIU's system and is accounted for through the business office. So whether I'm on a sick day, personal day, vacation day, or conference day, I want everyone to know that I'm available to the staff. This also extends to work days and off hours on the weekends. I have taken calls at night. I have attended meetings via Zoom when I'm on vacation. I have responded to Safe to Says along with the entire administrative team on a Saturday night or a Friday night if that's what's needed. We drop what we're doing and we are responsive. We have called the state police, the local police if we need to do a safety check on any one of our students. I have actually had times where I've laid my head on the pillow and my text goes off. I don't silence my phone at night and I look at it, and if it's a Safe to Say and it's a student that's in trouble, I get up, I get on my computer, I look that student's name up, we go through the process. We as a team, Mr. Howie is one of the first ones who jumps on, Dr. Tejan is another one. There's a group chat in the Safe to Say process, so we're all working through that process together. Last December when I was off on a couple of days for a celebration that I wanted to take, I certainly took calls while I was away and attended Zoom meetings. I was on a family vacation with 13 family members on a summer one time. We were in Deep Creek, Maryland, and I took calls that entire week. There were things that were happening in the district and I had to give my input, so I will never not be responsive to that. So I want to make sure people have an understanding of that. I knew that when I signed up and took this job, it's not for the light of heart, and it is a 24/7 job. When we had an incident in the kitchen at 4 a.m. in the morning, my phone gets off, it's not a great look, but the hair goes in a ponytail, the sweats go on, I'm a mile from this building, and I come in, so whatever needs to happen. Then I usually go home and get ready for the day. Okay. All right. So I just want to make sure you know that I complete paperwork. So then when the conference is over, and then if I have done anything out of pocket or for my mileage, I complete a reimbursement form. That form goes to the business office for verification, checks and balances, that process. If Barry approves that, and there was a time, a couple times, right, he'll come over and say, your dinner was over the allotted amount from the district. I said, no problem, just X that out, put the amount that I'm allowed to have. And we do that, we have those conversations, and then that information comes to the board for board approval before I get my reimbursement from those components. So I just wanted to share that. I hope that I've answered all the questions that were asked of me. And then that approval comes to the board. So I understand Mr. Quattrini and I have had the conversation when he was the president a couple years ago about my work and those pieces, and that I do understand that I'm a 24/7 employee and I need to be responsive if my phone goes off, and I will continue to do that. Okay.
Yeah, I think as past president, I've never had a situation where I didn't call you and you didn't pick up the phone, even though you probably shouldn't have. So I
But you
appreciate
shouldn't call,
I
right?
So I appreciate that, you know, it's just,
Yeah, it's all right.
you've always been available to our inquiries, and I appreciate all of that. Thank you so much. I hope
You're
that
welcome.
answered that individual's and many others' questions.
And I will continue to do it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I know that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So with that, public comment. Is there any resident or taxpayer that wishes to address the Sarah Area School District about title programming or any other matter of interest properly raised in public session? Hearing none, move forward to the next presentation. Mr. Howard.
Yes, sir. Dr. Deleuze, can I get you to hit the power button on that projector? And you and Mr. Quattrini may want to move. I don't usually use microphones, so if I get too loud, somebody yell at me.
Could you, okay. We're testing the voice of the microphone so that we're clear for tomorrow evening and any future meetings. Oh, nice picture.
Thank you. That's my daughter's soccer team, and unfortunately, for whatever reason, my person has been gone, disappeared. This. I had it all teed up because I didn't want to go through this exact moment, and yet here we are. All right, so for each of your board members, I put by your nameplate 2 slides per sheet hard copy. There are some extra hard copies up by the podium if need be. PAYS is a Pennsylvania Youth Survey. They do it every other year on the odd numbered years, so we can start to get some longitudinal data across as well. It is probably the most voluntary-based survey you will ever meet. There's a little notice that goes out to parents. Hey, if you want to see the questions, we'll send you the website. If you don't want your child to participate, they don't have to. We won't call them out. They'll still sit there. It just moves on through the day. The children get the same story, and they can choose to opt out on any question, moment, or the whole thing. So we do wind up with some participation numbers that some people like to say, "Ugh." But when you take half of the student body across the state of Pennsylvania, you probably got a pretty good cross-section of what you're looking for. The survey is basically looking at different mental health, drug and alcohol usage, gambling, any social disorders, stuff like that, that they try to get the kids to say, where do we stand? The slides are a little tough to read, even magnified on that. So the first thing here that we're going to do is so that you can see it, that's the legend. The light blue columns that you're about to see in the next 7 or 8 slides are from the District 2021 PAYS. The dark blue are District 2023. If there's a black dot on that particular graph, that is what they're saying the state averages or expectation. And then on a few of them, there's a small yellow triangle that's labeled MTF 2023. I reached back out because I didn't see it in the one sentence on the 109 pages of the report that said MTF is monitoring the future. So I wanted to give you that legend before we got into these slides, and you can reference them back if need be. The first one is higher prevalence of drugs lifetime usage. Now, there are 4 different columns there that I've made it larger where it says alcohol. Just above that little word that nobody can see, that's alcohol. So I've increased the size at the bottom for you for each of those groupings. Within each of those groupings, from left to right, goes 6th grade, 8th grade, 10th grade, 12th grade, and then all. So what this is showing us basically is 2021, there was a lot more prevalence of drug for lifetime usage than there is in 2023. Woo! Right? That's what we want.
Yeah. You're talking about the first grouping, alcohol?
Right, the light blue is 2021, so on the left is alcohol. So in 2021 is all the light blues for the first 5 columns, the dark blue is 2023. So the alcohol, marijuana, it would appear our 10th grade group this year, or at least those that responded, have responded very positively to marijuana, unfortunately. But for the most part, it appears that drugs, inhalants, vaping, cigarettes don't have a comparison. They're pretty new on the scene still, so. Next will be vaping substances. One of the questions, or a couple of questions, actually ask the kids, like, those of you that vape, why are you vaping? Right? That first grouping there to the left is just flavoring. The kids want you to believe that they're just doing this because they like the flavor, which is not unusual because it's like pineapple, strawberry. It's very well advertised towards our kids for the flavor. Some of them, a lot of them, as you can see, admitted to the nicotine or THC. So what we've lost in our overt drug usage and alcohol usage, we kind of picked up out of our vaping population very clearly here. Other substances, and then there are a number of people who are doing these things that don't even know what's in them. Yes, sir.
Just a quick question, just correlating this to the last slide.
Yes, sir.
So this would indicate that they did have data for 2021 regarding vaping,
For vaping.
but the previous chart didn't indicate any data for 2021. vaping.
Right.
Go back one, yes.
So I, just
So,
curious,
I'm wondering what the question was in 2021 about the flavoring and those pieces different than vaping, that they didn't ask a question there.
And there is an asterisk there, and
yeah, you don't need to get, it's just, it's just.
It's like
Yeah,
inquiring.
why?
Yeah, why?
we have a whole slide comparing 21 and 23 vaping use, and it's
Right.
not there on this one.
The level of detail.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Agreed.
Yes, sir. So that's what we're just looking at. Mental health concerns. As we're probably all very well aware, coming out of COVID, even as far back as it has been now, there's still a lot of mental health awareness. And people who were open about it, so it makes for better reporting because there are people who, it's no longer being stuffed in a closet. And I think that's a little bit of what you're seeing here is people are much more likely to say, I'm having a problem and I need help. But again, the groupings go across, you can read them. There is, the second one in there is where they, overall for the last 30 days or for the past month, I felt pretty good. MH is, capital MH is mental health abbreviation. But even as good as they reported feeling, they still weren't quite up there to what the state thinks they should be. I kind of wrap this up towards the end as far as how we're addressing all of this. I just want to put the data forward on you that our mental health, which is probably not a surprise to anyone, is going nuts.
But highly concerning.
Yes, that's a much better phrase for it than my unfortunate quote.
No, that's okay.
And kind of significantly on the negative of what the state is reporting on that.
Correct.
So this area.
Correct.
So these are the asterisks that we're looking for. The question regarding suicide attempts on this last slide, and I'll bounce back in just a second, was revised. You can read it, I'm sorry. More education on it stays with me.
Tara, can you read that? I just want to make sure, because if not, I'll have him read. Yeah, I want to make sure he can be seen. Thank you.
What I thought was interesting is they actually changed the manipulation of the survey so that they didn't have to try to go back and manipulate who and recalculate it. It just didn't give them some of the questions if they had not had a personal interaction with suicide. Suicide risk. This is the scale from starting the slide to, you know, SOSTAD, stop doing usual activities. And you can see 2023 is higher than 2021. Seriously considered, higher planned. Attempted though is it kind of stuck out, like everything else is way above, and all of a sudden when it gets to the actual attempted, but that's again talking to that previous slide where it said they didn't get the question if they didn't acknowledge a certain level of this. And then the final grouping of needed medical treatment for an attempt.
I think what's really important with this kind of data, and your team kind of looking at it, is correlating the questions, right? To try to draw some related conclusion of where focus needs to be. I mean, you look at 10th grade here, right? So you correlate 10th grade to, drug use 10th grade, right? I mean, there are a number of things that ultimately we want to at least highlight to say, where do we want to place intervention programs that can help?
And that's part of this survey. We wanted to bring it forward so that we could then share, okay, where we're leaning into and work with the county on, because they have some experts in that field as well to make some determinations for our school district.
It also happens to be where most of our high school population is now turning 16. and they get a lot more social interaction out and away without direct supervision. I have one company that scares me crazy. All right. Gambling, which seems like an odd thing to put in a high school, pay survey.
I'm sorry, I want to ask one more question.
Certainly.
I feel like, is that percentages on the left or number of students? Like, so when I'm looking at that first bar of sixth grade, it's just above 10. So am I looking at 10% or am I looking at, 10 students?
I can't even read it on my screen.
Oh.
I think it's
I was-
I think it's percentage.
Is it safe?
Percentage?
Okay.
That's just percentage of those.
Correct.
Percentage of those who responded,
So
which
if
was
50
about half
kids
of our
took it,
student body.
12% of the 50. That's what, I just wanted to make sure I couldn't see that.
Sorry,
I know the first word says.
I missed that.
Thank you.
For obvious reasons, this has become, gambling came on last, in 2021, obviously, so we had comparison data. And it's because people get into gambling problems, they owe money, they do things that they typically wouldn't. I mean, it can be a key, an entryway for a lot of people to get into stuff they don't need to be getting into. And it's very accessible now, it's on anybody's phone. The one that bothers me the most, we're back over there where it goes lied about gambling habits. You gamble, you bet more money, that's kind of the nature of the beast, but when you start lying to people about what you're doing and why you're doing it, that's when it really is taking that ugly turn. So we're gonna slide into some more positive, hopefully a little more positive feel towards this. And this is a commitment to school. You can read across the bottom there, the first group, there are a lot of chances for students in my school to talk one-on-one with their teachers. It's funny, that same 10th grade group is up and above, like, they got all sorts of chances, but it's the 8th graders don't feel like they can talk to their teachers. Remember that the fifth column in each group is the all, where they've averaged everybody together. So, they feel like they can talk to the teachers one-on-one. Chances to be part of the discussion and the activities is still kind of struggling a little bit, but it's coming around. I feel safe at my school. The 6th grade, absolutely. The others, not so much. But when you correlate it back across, some of the groups that are the lowest in their safety are also the highest in their drug usage. And I don't want to say it's their fault. It's not. It's our school, and we have a responsibility to them. But some things we don't have control over.
So just thinking about that one, it might be a good idea at the high school level to acknowledge that to the student body and say, tell us what doesn't make you feel safe, or what can we do differently to make you feel safe, so that we have an understanding of that. Maybe it's just it could be communication of information, it could be things that need to be done physically to the building. And so I think going back to the student body and saying, here's the results of the survey,
Right.
and ask them, what is it what would you like to see different? So, okay.
But I still, I want to know about it.
Go
Involvement in the
Hold on,
program.
go back one.
Sorry.
So that last one, my teachers praised me when I worked hard in school. Look at the growth in the dark blue in 23, and that 10th grade group.
Right. Like, they feel like they can talk to their teachers love them up when they do anything, where they don't feel safe. And it just feels like, where's the disconnect on that?
So is this the same cohort? So is 12th grade now what 10th grade was?
So then
Yes,
that
sir.
was my question. So the 10th grade comparison of the light blue to the dark blue, that wasn't their 8th grade score. That was the last group of 10th graders.
That was the 10th graders in
So really, I should be
2021.
comparing
10th to
10th
12th.
grade students when they took it in 8th grade to the light blue, is what I really should be
If-
doing. The current 10th grade line should be compared to the light blue of the 8th grade. That's the same group of students.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And likewise, 12th grade,
Yes.
dark blue is compared to light blue 10th grade.
Correct, agreed.
If you want to stay with the same class,
Cohort.
if you want to
Yes.
stay with the same demographic group, then you have to look at your seniors from 2 years ago against your seniors from now.
Yep.
Yep.
And that's how they apparently chose to describe it.
Lenses of data.
Yeah. Someday I'll tell you, my grandmother told me that statisticians and liars can tell you anything they want with numbers. All right, so involvement in pro-social activities. Now this is the big positive here. We got organized community activities, kind of going up there. Family-supported activities and hobbies, coming up through the roof. School-sponsored activities, exploding. Faith-based, low. Job employment, real low, well, at least at the start, because the sixth graders aren't really allowed to work, you know, since the chocolate shirt factory.
Well, you know, if they ask Mrs. Morel, she might put them to work.
But our volunteerism, other activities, I mean, this is kind of what gave me the cornerstone of, I think we've, and I'm gonna say it again in a couple slides, I think we are on the upswing. I think we're in that moment of flux between we've been going down and now we're heading up. And this is what's proving that for me, when they start joining in on a lot of activities. So here's some of my final thoughts on PACE. We've hit them across the board. Alcohol, marijuana use are down, but vapes are up. And they have both, well, they have marijuana in them, some of them. Our students don't know what they're getting in the vapes. They really don't. Mental health is a significant rise, but we're trying to match it step for step with services, psychologists, behaviorists, concern, SAP, school counselor. I mean, we're bringing things in here for mental health as fast and as furious as we can get it in here. And it's working, it's getting there. The suicide slide is weighted by only those who answered, who reported attempts. It's still very concerning. One is too many. One is absolutely too many.
So if I just hone in on bullet number 3 for the mental health component. So since, you know, we've been here, we've gone from 2 school counselors. We have a 1.5 school psychs. I'm leaning to Dr. Tejan to make sure. And the other half is this behavior specialist, although she does, it's not a 50-50. It's based on what the student needs are. Concern is a program that's run by a county CSBBH. It's no cost to the district, but it's on-site counseling with behavior therapists and mobile therapists as well. We also have SAP, which we have a team of teachers that come together, I think, once a week to dialogue about students and give references, or, you know,
We make contact with the parents and say there may be a concern.
Yes.
Would you give us
And here's
permission to
options
do a
that we
screening?
have.
Here's some options.
Right. So in addition to our school counselors, we also have a trauma therapist that comes in once a week from Children's House. So students that might have had a trauma happen, and that's for a period of time. It could be 2 weeks or 8 weeks or 10, and Hannah decides, you know, how long that will be. And we have an outpatient therapist as well, outpatient work that goes on as well. So we have grown this in the last 5 years to, you know, a significant number of support. A lot of the support depends on insurance from home. And once a child reaches the ages of 14, they can decide they don't want the service anymore, or they don't want to participate. So, but we have it here to offer. Just wanted to share some of those pieces.
I'm sorry I don't know the answer to this already, but,
Yeah.
and maybe it's an age thing. Do we do any peer support?
Peer-to-peer,
Peer-to-peer support?
I'm not aware that is happening on a,
Other than the Big Brothers Big Sisters program, I mean, that's not mental health counseling, but it is a support program that we do have.
Yeah, but that's not peer-to-peer.
you're talking peer-to-peer, a junior to a junior, or a junior to a
Right.
sophomore or a
Kids-
freshman.
Older, we have like our seniors that mentor our 7th and 8th graders.
Oh, okay.
Mrs. Ramsey, did you have something you wanted to add as a teacher as well?
Yeah, so, well, as advisor, it's actually one of the things that my group going into next year, my officer team that was just elected, that they want to spearhead is a peer-to-peer support system where if someone just needs something, they can reach out to their buddy or whatnot and talk about anything that they need to, and then that buddy can kind of help navigate, or if it's a tutoring situation or whatnot, or they just need to get to the right place. So it is a concern that the students see as well. And I know it's something that's sad, we're talking about at the moment, trying to write.
So I'm gonna go ahead and try to reiterate all of what you just said for the people online that might not have been able to hear you. that Mrs. Ramsey, who's here, is our SAT advisor at the high school level, and her new officers that were just elected going into next year have brought peer-to-peer tutoring forward as something they might want to add. So it could be for tutoring services, but it could also just be for support services, where they just might need someone to talk to at their age. Okay? Sounds great. Did I sum that up? You did it so much better than I.
And I'm sorry, I don't mean to, have you reached out to Karen Laborani?
I have not.
Okay.
I will write that name down.
So if you need help, Mrs. Ramsey, I sit on the Drug and Alcohol Executive Board for Bradford Sullivan County, so I can put you in contact with the right persons to help you spearhead that peer-to-peer. It works wonders in my other line of work, so maybe it'd help here.
Perfect.
Yeah, and they might even be able to do some training for your students to bring them in on processing. Okay, thanks, Keith.
So Dr. DeLocio, before we move on, we might want to mention, since Mr. Petrie mentioned Bradford County and Too Good for Drugs program, the Italian Youth and Culinary Party put on for our intermediate students at Snyder, so that may also have some impact on vaping and those
That's
kinds of
correct.
things as kids. And
So we're
that's
hoping that
available
they'll have
in
a
elementary school.
prevention impact. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So a thought that should have been on here is, we're still growing every minute trying to tackle this mental health issue, from SAD to Too Good to Drugs, all the way up through. I mean, we're willing to try anything to help combat that. Gambling is mentioned, like I said, because it's getting accessible, and then when you get in trouble with gambling, you wind up doing much less smart things. Commitment to school, these are the last couple things, the positive school environment. The fact that the students have stated that they feel that they can approach the teachers, that they feel more praise is coming from the faculty and staff, just makes the school a more positive place. It's not sunshine and roses yet, but we're headed in that direction if they stay and they feel that it's more positive. And then anytime you can get more activity, volunteers, sports, clubs, anything, it's a good day. So here, just a short, certainly nowhere near comprehensive list of things that we're putting out for activities to try and get people around. Twilight track meets with Mr. Coach John Stevens, football members. Coach took 8 guys down to the NTL Combine last week. We're hosting a 7-on-7 football scrimmage day with 9 other teams this summer. Volleyball's having age group camps, summer recreation's added to this program. We are all over Thrillshare with accomplishments and activities and opportunities, from national weightlifting to national FBLA and everything going. Spring Fling, Spooktacular, Kinder Camp, Reading Under the Lights, Artist of the Month, Window Mural Painting, School Store for Apparel. I mean, these are all just things that, and nowhere near the list of things that our faculty and staff and community are doing to help Sayre School continue its upswing here with positivity. And finally, examples of increased participation. I reached out to all high school and all employees of Sayre District, said, if you run a club, you run a team, let me know, where did you stand, where are you going? Football this year, we had 38 guys, 21 on varsity and 17 on junior high, excuse me. New York is modified. Junior high. Next year, we have 53 currently signed up, 38 for varsity and 15 at junior high. So we do have the flexibility if a 9th grader is a first year 9th grader or somebody who needs that extra year, we can slide them to the junior high. That's perfectly allowable. But 53 kids signed up to play high school football. Signs pretty positive. Basketball, FBLA had 30 this year, 20 and 10. Senior high, junior high, and next year they got 36 planned. They got 30 in the senior high and 6 in junior high, and I bet when the 6th graders get over here and get introduced to it, they're gonna jump right in there. It's a great club. Mrs. Koopman with the art club said she's got 18 this year. They're all coming back and they're already talking about bringing friends. Band's up a third again as much as it was. And it was like that all the way across. Tiny mics, expecting more people. Yearbook, expecting more people. I didn't come across a club advisor or a coach who didn't say, my numbers for next year are better than they are this year. And when you have that kind of participation, you can't go wrong. I mean, that makes the school the center of these kids' day, and that's gotta be a positive. I'm gonna leave you on that slide. I don't even have one that says questions, because we've been asking through the slideshow, so that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Howie.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Howie.
Yes.
Is there any more comments from the board on the presentation? We'll move with the consent agenda. So that includes the minutes of the last meeting, instruction, which includes the conference request. Which I believe is from Mr. Howard.
Yes. They're both retroactive.
Both retroactive, okay, yep. District volunteers, the Act 48 program agreement, a dual enrollment agreement between Lackawanna College and Sarah Area School. Right, yay. Athletics, coaches, finance, bills, contract for purchase of student services between Sarah Area School District and River Rock Academy at a per diem rate of $234. Service agreement between Equip Online Service Agreement between Sarah Area School District and the Blast Intermediate Unit. Homestead Farmstead Resolution as presented. Employment, an acknowledgement, a new professional employee induction program. The following have completed it: Carrie Ackerman, Molly Robinson, Taylor Wenzel, Sarah Condon, Jennifer Riley, Steve Satterley, Jamie Wheeler, Amber Schreiber, Audrey Nolde, and Parker Potter. And that's it for the consent agenda. Do you have a motion? Do you have a motion? Have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. High school
So,
principal.
Before you move on to that, I wanted to wait till it was officially approved of the board, so I'd like to introduce Sydney Burgess. So Sydney would stand sitting next to Mrs. Morel. We've just hired Sydney to be our elementary teacher. She'll be teaching at the 6th grade level, and we're welcoming her to the Sayre family, and we're excited to have you.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Absolutely. Congratulations. Welcome aboard.
So, Mrs. Morel, that completes your hiring for the upcoming year. You're full. You're finished.
I'm finished. I still have secretary, so I still have a secretary.
All right. Teachers, we have all of our students covered with teachers at the elementary. Okay? All right.
Okay, with that, high school principal's report, Ms. Neely.
Good evening, everyone. Believe it or not, another school year has come to a close. Final report cards are now posted in Skyward for grades 7 through 11. If your child needs to attend any summer school courses, you will receive information about that very shortly in the mail. Summer school will run in person here at the high school from June 20th through July 19th. Summer recreation signups will be this Saturday from 9 to 12:30 in the high school cafeteria, and that program starts next Monday at 9 a.m. We do have one student that is heading off to FBLA national competition at the end of this month. I just wanted to point that out. So 9th grader, soon to be a 10th grader, Maurice Rivera is heading to Orlando at the end of the month to compete, and we could not be prouder of her already and more excited for her to do that. Lastly, I just want to take a moment to thank anyone and everyone who was involved Friday evening to make the graduation ceremony special for our seniors. Thank you to the custodial and maintenance crew. Thank you to our tech department. Thank you to Mr. Howie and the group of students that he recruited to set up all the chairs. Thank you to Mr. Handrick for ensuring that the speakers were hooked up and working outside. Big thank you to Mrs. Ennis and Mrs. Flynn for coming over and helping to set up for graduation and to help the kids practice. Thank you to Mrs. Lumar for being the senior class advisor and all the planning that goes into the whole senior year, but especially the last couple of weeks. Thank you to all the administrators and board members who came to the ceremony and fulfilled the part that they played in that. Thank you to Mrs. Abby and Mrs. Brewer for prepping everything for that night. Thank you to Mrs. Ramsey, who's here, and the juniors who came to hand out programs. Thank you to Ms. Ackerman and all the band members for playing that evening. Thank you to the cafeteria staff on providing snacks for the seniors so we could get through. And thank you to all the parents and the area businesses that helped to make that overnight party fun and memorable for the seniors afterwards. It truly is a huge team effort, and it's very much appreciated. That's all I have.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Yu. Mrs. Morrell?
Good evening, everyone. Again, as Mrs. Ely said, thank you to all of those that helped out for our 6th grade promotion ceremony. It was very well attended. A special thank you does go out to Chad McCutcheon and Jade Wheelot for bringing some extra chairs over to us at the last minute, so thank you very much for that. We had a great field day. The weather held out. We had like 20 minutes of a sprinkle. There were 2 sessions. It was led by Mr. Satterley for his first year. He did a great job, so thank you to all of the staff that also helped out on that day. The kids had a really great time. Transition day for our 6th graders went very well. They were in groups, they traveled around. I know they talked with several different people over here. Mr. Claypool even mentioned that they behaved better than he would when he was in the 6th grade as well, for as hot as it was up there that day. I think they had some great talks and are looking forward to coming here for their next school year. It was very nice to see our 6th graders walk through the Snyder Elementary School as they prepare to come over here. That was a result of them watching the seniors come over and walk through. So that was a very special day, and it was funny to hear some of the seniors when they go by the kindergarten classes saying, look how little they are. And I said to the one student, I said, well, that was you 13 years ago. And their minds kind of flashed back, so that started a discussion of, I remember what my mom dressed me in, what my dad put me in. So it was just cute to hear them reflect on all those memories and think how quickly time can go by. So I'm glad that we continue that tradition. I think it's very worthwhile. That's all that I have. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Morrell.
You're welcome.
Mr. Henry?
Hello again. We are still going to remain affiliated with Keystone College. The Lackawanna affiliation is just, there's some financial uncertainty with Keystone. They've assured me that they're gonna be fine, but I didn't want our kids to be left without opportunity. So I'll now start to work through those. Now that the agreement's finalized, I'll work through that with our representative from there. They're from Lackawanna. I'm participating in an online future learning planning cohort with staff from the IU, an outside consultant, Southern Tioga, Hughesville, Towanda, and Loyalsock, among some other districts. The goal for our group is to bring back cyber charter students and create action plans for each individual district by the end of the summer. As you guys know, that's a big chunk of our budget. This dovetails pretty nicely with the efforts that Dr. Delosio, Mr. Howie, and I started earlier this year. And I mentioned this at our curriculum committee, but our Operation Save 2024 was modeled after the more formal Renew program to try to support our seniors that we were worried about being right on the edge for graduation. It worked pretty well. Paired members of our admin team, we each took kids who were at risk of not graduating, checked in with them regularly, helped them make a plan if they were in a hole or failing. And in the end, we were able to get about 70% of those kids through graduation. So I think it was a success. The team worked really hard at that. I'm going to start looking at, last year we started in November. We're going to start with this coming seniors this month, later this month. So I'll pull their data now that report cards are finalized, and we'll start crunching those numbers and making sure parents understand the severity. So that's it for me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. T.
Pass off the kid, Mrs. Morrell.
I'm right here, buddy.
Good evening, everyone. So tonight I just have a quick grants update for you. So at the last board meeting, you approved a resolution for an infrastructure grant that focused on plumbing and the addition of handicap accessible So that grant was submitted last week, but prior to the due date. There is another competitive infrastructure grant that's due on June 30th. So I'll be working on that in collaboration with Mr. Claypool and Mr. Green. So if that funding is received, we will focus on the abatement of a few classrooms here at the high school. And that's it for tonight. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Delosio, you said you had a PSBA update?
Yes, and Mr. Cole's absent tonight. He sent me 2 items to share, that the 2024 Essentials of School Board Leadership is now available in the resource library for our board members in their MyPSBA account. And there are also new micro courses at MyPSBA, and many of them are free of charge, and there are a variety of subjects. So anyone on the board that would like to participate or take those courses, they're on your MyPSBA account. Thank you.
Any committee reports?
I have an athletic review, we will call it. Can everybody hear me? Should I?
Use your outdoor voice.
Okay, my mom voice?
Project. Bring that close to your voice. Bring
It
that.
doesn't,
Yes, there. You gotta just have it close. Yep.
super close. Is that better?
That's better.
Okay, so this is a yearly wrap-up, and Mr. Claypool and I have sort of talked about this. So as the academic year ends, it is time for us to reflect on achievements, challenges, and growth within our school district's athletic programs. And I just want to do a quick overview of the key highlights, statistics, and future plans. So several of our teams had outstanding seasons with notable district appearances. We saw an increase in student participation across all sports, indicating growing interest and engagement in athletics. 20 students in our graduating class participated in athletics, and of our top 10 seniors, 9 of them participated in athletics. We are nearing record high participation in athletics in the upcoming school year, and we are seeing significant growth in our recreational programs, including Junior Redskins. Going back to Mr. Howie's presentation, I crunched some numbers, because that's what I do. Football has increased 71% since last year, and men's basketball has increased 75%. That is incredible to me. So of course, we extend our gratitude to the parents and community members who volunteered their time and resources. Their involvement was crucial for organizing events, fundraisers, and supporting our teams. This year's fundraising initiative solely from the Redskin Club raised over $20,000, which has been used to further improve our athletic programs and give opportunities to our student athletes. Coaches that work in the district have grown significantly. From last year, there were 2 coaches that worked in the district, and now there are 9. Board members are heavily involved in volunteer efforts with wrestling, baseball, and soccer, and each of you play a critical role in shaping the future of our student athletes. Your influence extends beyond the playing field, helping to mold individuals who are disciplined, resilient, and team-oriented. As mentors and leaders, your impact is profound and lasting. Open communication is key to our success, so if you have any concerns, suggestions, or require assistance, please do not hesitate to reach out. Mr. Claypool and I think are an open book at this point. Your insights and feedback are crucial for continuous improvement, and thank you for your unwavering dedication. This year has been a testament to the dedication, talent, and hard work of our student athletes, coaches, and community. As we look forward to the next academic year, we remain committed to fostering an inclusive, supportive, and thriving athletic environment. Thank you to everyone who contributed to making this year a success. We are excited for the opportunities and challenges ahead and look forward to another year of achievements. That's it.
Thank you very much, Ms. White. Anyone else?
In Mrs. Commence's absence for community relations, we met earlier this month, and they have set homecoming for the weekend of October 11th. So mark your calendars. All good?
Well, I guess I'll fill in for Mr. Cole for the board president report. I'd first like to thank Dr. Delosio and Mr. Claypool for all their hard work, putting together all the information for us for the outsourcing. This board asks a lot of administration, and even though we vote on what we believe is best for the students, the district, and our taxpayers, our constituents, it's not that your hard work wasn't unappreciated. It was very much so appreciated. So thank you for all of that. If anybody else wants to add to that, please go ahead.
Thank you.
A couple other things I have. I'd like to thank Mr. Romanowski for boating and fishing this year. I know one student that really appreciated it, the fact that they got their boating license and they got to do stuff other than sit on their butt, play video games. They got out into the outdoors. It was another outlet for those that weren't into sports or into video games. They got into the wild. He made dreams come true, and they got their boating license. I thought that was kind of neat at the end of the day. And I'd like to thank our band. I went to the Memorial Day Parade, and yeah, I'm a little bit biased, but we had the smallest band there, and they were absolutely phenomenal. They played brilliantly for such a tiny group of kids. Great job to all those folks. And that's all I have. Dr. Wiltshire.
All right. My list is a little bit longer. It is the end of the year. I'm going to second what you just said. Both Ms. Wenzel and Miss Ackerman are new teachers, first-year teachers, so it is a heavy load to be a first-year teacher and run all the classes that you need to, and then do all the extracurricular that they did. I emailed them the next day after I sat here for the high school level band concert, and I was thoroughly impressed at the sound that came from the students' voices for chorus as well as instrumental. And to have seen at the end of Mr. Howie's presentation, it's going to increase numbers. In fact, I was standing, well, I was just out in the hallway the other day. It was after one of the events we were at, Mr. Claypool. What's that we were just recently at? But there's a junior going into her senior year. She's going to self-teach herself how to do the saxophone this summer so she can join the marching band in the fall. So I just can't remember what event we were at.
One of the awards.
Baccalaureate, one of my favorite. How can I remember that? It's on my list here. And then Mrs. Wagaman, the yearbook team this year, if you haven't seen the high school yearbook, you absolutely need to take a look at it. It is impressive, extremely impressive. And then not far behind that, Mrs. Swartley with the elementary one that I received today for the 9 board members. Thank her for that. She put together the elementary yearbook, and I loved the filter face page. And I was impressed with myself, Mrs. Morel, that I could pick out some of the teachers. Look at the eyes.
I got
You can
one.
tell by
That
the
was
eyes. So the filters they use, it was great. So since the last board meeting, several of the board, along with myself and administration, went over to the Snyder Library and participated in jury. We had jury duty. And so that was a great deal of fun. That happened the day after the last board meeting. And the wolf went to jail. He had to serve a sentence at the end. On the Thursday before Memorial Day, Mrs. Ely, Mr. Cole, and I went down to Towanda High School and celebrated our NTCC students on all of their awards. 3 of our students were inducted into the CTC National Honor Society, and those students got to wear their pins at graduation that night. And that event is always heartwarming to me to see all of the accolades and the students, the licensures that they've earned while they've been down in the CTC and all they've learned over the last 2 years. They have a great program, it's growing, and our numbers there have increased. We are almost at our max number of seats that we have available, so I'm most excited about that for next year's juniors and seniors. I also have another shout out for Mrs. Swartley, Publications Club. She invited me to the end of the year celebration. They did the Snyder Scoop this past year, and if you haven't logged onto our website and read that, it is impressive. 2nd through 6th grade students are producing that publication under her direction, and she's giving a great deal of support and help to those students. She has over 40 students participating in that Publications Club, because I can only imagine what that will then do for our yearbook at the high school level when they come up through the system. Baccalaureate, wonderful. I appreciate that event every year when it comes around, and the participation of the students. Graduation was another wonderful event. And hearing the speeches both from our valedictorian, salutatorian, and the administrators that spoke, and I appreciate Mr. Cole welcoming everybody and opening that ceremony of that evening. If you haven't had a chance to take a look at our podium, I'm going to ask Mr. Howie on the spot to get up and turn the podium so Mrs. Ely can turn the iPad. So when you look look at the front of the podium, we had a switch over. So Mr. Mike Tracy had this idea, who then went to see Mr. Kapachuk, our new industrial arts teacher, and they found an old desktop. Mr. Hickey, you might have sat at that desk. You very well may have. Yep. You may have. Yeah. And so we didn't find your initials on it, but they put the desktop through the CNC router and have our mascot and our label. So I am expecting great things from Mr. Kapachuk next year. We've had some conversation around student projects, school projects to give back to the school and vice versa. So he has some ideas up his sleeve, and I can't not wait to see what he brings.
Jill, based on how clean it is, it probably is my desk, because I think I have to work with those things.
Well, it may be your desk, but may not, because I was watching him scrape out all the fine tune. He had so many tools out getting all the fine details. And then he took another piece of wood, not a desktop because of the laminate, just a solid piece of wood, and then he took a torch to it and he burned it, and it looks fabulous as well. So I'm assuming some of these things are going to start to appear in the high school building, and some branding will probably be happening next year. So it'll look lovely. All right.
Jill, didn't the foundation give a grant to help purchase this
The
router?
Sayre Area School District Foundation gave a huge amount of money to get the CNC router.
Coming up?
It's on my list. Oh, okay. You want the microphone? So, as I said to the last one, the Sayre Area School District Foundation runs an annual fundraiser at the Elks. Mrs. Morel can tell you exactly how much fun it is. But it is a chance to win money. We have a good time. It's on the 26th. It's a Wednesday evening, but it's summertime. What do you have to do on a Thursday morning, right? And I could take a personal day Thursday morning. I might put that in CSIU and get Mr. Claypool to approve it. But we have a great time at the Elks. You do not have to attend to win, so if you're on vacation, get yourself a ticket, mark that you're not attending, but we will save your winnings if you are one of the winners. So you do not have to be in attendance. I will be back from vacation, so I will be in attendance that night. I did want to share with the community that tomorrow night's meeting that's here in our auditorium is a public presentation from Alloy 5 on the merger feasibility study. It is open to both Sayre and Athens community members. It's one presentation that is happening by Alloy 5 for both communities together here in our auditorium. And the preview on Wednesday, we'll be pushing out an advertisement. The following Wednesday, June 12th, Athens will be hosting a town hall. So we'll do the presentation tomorrow night for community members to receive the information. The feasibility study is online for you to read it. The presentation that Randy Gallietto will present tomorrow will also go online after the presentation. It'll give people a week and a day to look through all of that information, and then we're going to host a town meeting on June 12th, and it'll be hosted in the Athens Auditorium, so we both shared the load on that. And both communities are invited to that as well, so I wanted to share both of those. But tomorrow night's meeting is here in our auditorium. And I know someone mentioned electives, fishing and boating. You mentioned that. We had a lot of great electives. Mrs. Ramsey came up with quite a few. I just can wait to see how that grows and flourishes for our students and the activity that's occurring across the board. And my last one is, our Facebook page. If you are not connected to our Facebook page, I encourage you to look at all the activity that is happening here. It does not happen without the support of the teachers, the support staff, the administration. Every hand is on deck trying to pull together a variety of opportunities and give students experiences and make memories with them. So, I thank you for another year. This is the end of my 5th year here at Sayre, and I have enjoyed every moment of it, some more challenging than others, but that's to be expected when you're in this seat, and I just want to thank you for your support, and I look forward to moving forward as a whole. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Lozo. I think the only other meeting you didn't mention.
Oh, I have one thing. I am so sorry.
That's the second time
That is the
tonight.
second time I interrupted you. I looked down and I saw one thing I hadn't checked off. Oh, Mrs. Rhonda Tracy, please forgive me for forgetting that it was on my list. So, Mrs. Tracy runs the Tiny Mics. If you haven't seen what the Tiny Mics produce, it is great. at the end of the year, they created the idea, this is the class of 24, 2 plus 4 equals 6. Staff members were given the opportunity for 6 words to be videotaped, and then they put everybody's words of advice together and pushed out a video. I think it came out over the weekend.
Yes.
Oh, it was so cute.
Yeah,
Like,
it's wonderful.
it just warms your heart to see the teachers that responded and said, yes, come videotape me, and the administration participated, support staffs participated. Did you look at it yet? So, not yet. You have to get on Facebook and look at that Tiny Mice video. It's just a few minutes of your time, but it's worth it. I watched it twice. It was so good.
It was worth the interruption, thank you.
Yes, yes, it is. Okay, I'm done.
The only other meeting you forgot to mention was June 17th is our next school board meeting, and with that,